should I have like a 0
Welcome to MediaPath. I'm Fritz Coleman.
And I'm Louise Palanker.
Here at MediaPath, we try to be the most current and entertaining media resource that doesn't require a courtroom sketch artist.
Oh.
We look at current releases in different platforms, all building up to a great chat with one of the loveliest and most talented humans you will ever meet. With an insane resume of quality work in television and film, we're probably only going to scratch the surface with Annie Potts. Annie will be here in just a few minutes. She just wrapped 7 seasons of Young Sheldon. She's in the latest Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. We're beyond excited that she's joining us. But first, Wheezy, what do you have this week?
Well, Fritz, art heals, right? But the reason art heals is because we're turning, our pain into creative output. It gives it voice and wings and beauty, and the sharing of trauma unites us with those who feel resonance with our experiences, absolving you of secrets and shame that need no longer sully your self-esteem. This should be true.
That's very deep.
Yes. But it's only true if your secrets and shame do not involve a stalker. Because a stalker feeds on heat and light, and sharing a stalker story on Netflix in our internet age is exactly that. Completely missing the cautionary point, internet sleuths went to work exposing the identity of the stalker in our story and harassing her. We may never learn, but most of us should try. Baby Reindeer is Scottish comedian Richard Gadd's biographical account of how the sexual grooming and abuse he suffered left him confused about his own identity and vulnerable to the attentions of a woman who would harass and stalk him to the extent of 41,071 emails, 744 tweets, 46 Facebook messages, letters totaling 106 pages, and some 350 hours of phone messages. The stalking is excessive and debilitating, and it spirals into a twisted codependency that has the viewer wondering which participant in this toxic tangle is more dysfunctional. The main character is Donnie. He becomes obsessed with his stalker's obsession of him. He feverishly sorts and categorizes her messages into playlists, as if studying and cataloging them will provide a roadmap to understanding himself. The show unflinchingly explores the layers of complexities we each bring into any friendship and or romance. It begs us to take responsibility for our own contributions to any engagement and to grasp the concept that we're all flawed and that being open and accountable is not a weakness, it's a strength. And it's a true roadmap to healing. Baby Reindeer is painful and disturbing and fascinating, and it's on Netflix.
And Annie saw that, or she's watching it now, so I'll be interested to hear her comments about it.
She's deeply entrenched in it.
She's into it.
Yeah.
All right, today I'm going to talk about a 6-part series on Netflix called A Man in Full, starring Jeff Daniels. This was based on Tom Wolfe's second book, not one of his best books, according to those who have read all of his. The book was over 700 pages long, and 10 years it took him to write it. That's why I'm recommending, if you've read the book, avoid the series except for Jeff Daniels. It's a thinner and slightly different story than the book. Jeff Daniels plays Charlie Croker, who's a billionaire Atlanta real estate mogul. The main arc of the story is, for some reason, for really a few reasons, he goes into bankruptcy and tries to fight his way back. It's about money and power and race, toxic masculinity. It's very Trumpian in plot and personality, which is what kept my attention. There's a testosterone standoff between Charlie and the CEO of a bank who Charlie owes $800 million to, and he wants it now. Charlie tries to defend his empire while others try to take it away. It's a clash between business and Southern politics. There are subplots like the one about a black guy and police brutality and a black guy accused of raping a white woman, the clash between high society and lower economic classes. The story's based in Atlanta, which made it juicy because of the other Trump trial that will or won't start down there. You get exposed to outside Southern personalities and racism in all forms. Jeff Daniels makes this guy very interesting in an amoral, despicable kind of way. One reviewer said he's a cross between Colonel Sanders and Logan Roy from Succession. That's fantastic.
Wow.
All right, let me get my friend in here. Our guest, we are so excited about. Our crew was like the house staff at Downton Abbey on pins and needles waiting for the Queen to arrive. We'll just talk about the most recent events in her life and work backwards. She just wrapped Sheldon on CBS after 7 seasons as Meemaw. She's in the latest Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Full disclosure, Annie is my friend. And over and above all of her talents, I think her greatest attribute is the minute you meet her, She makes you feel like a friend and draws you into her circle. I'm ecstatic that Annie Potts is with us today.
Same.
Welcome to this place.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're
I'm
very
excited
welcome.
to be here.
So you watched, what is it called? The Perfect Reindeer?
It's Baby Reindeer.
Baby Reindeer.
And
I thought it must be a children's something when I heard it. It's like, absolutely not. Please shield the children.
is it a true story, you said?
It's based on a true story. That's why everyone online is trying to figure out, who really was involved. It's not that hard to track it down. He works in a pub where she walks in, the woman that becomes his stalker. And apparently the only way that he knew to get himself out of this twisted mess in his mind and in his life was to write about it and perform about it. So he started doing a one-man play about...
Oh, so it actually happened to him.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh
Crazy.
my God! I didn't know that. I went into it completely blind, but wow, it grabbed us immediately. First of all, the acting is just fantastic.
Does the guy act in the play?
Yeah, he plays himself.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Cool.
And the woman that plays his stalker is marvelous. She's wonderful. It's there are some disturbing scenes. It's more usually, Fritz, I shy away from things that will
There's
require
bloodshed
me
or other liquids. I know you hate
the
all that.
blanket to come over my face. But this was, I don't know, they're kind of half hour, a little bit over half hour episodes. So it's 7 parts. And he's very vulnerable in the way that he writes about what happened to him. And I do think it's a pathway to healing as long as this person isn't. I guess there was someone that wrote about her for the Daily Mail, and now she's stalking that reporter. So she has one speed, engage.
She's not been put away?
I don't know. I'm afraid to read more and have my internet history get into her hands. So
Hey, so
yeah.
you had something else that you watched that you were excited about. What were you talking about earlier?
Alice and Jack.
Ooh, what's that?
It's Donald Gleason and Andrea Riseborough, both of them just fantastic actors. And the guy who wrote so beautifully for Mad Men has written all of it. There's 7 episodes. It's a love story, but it's a very unique and interesting one. And it will, it's just the acting is just totally next level. Writing too.
Where do we find it?
It's on PBS. You have
wow.
to make a donation
If you
or
have
something.
that app, if you have that app, you can get everything, right?
I am a member.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So-
It's easy to find.
Congratulations on Young Sheldon. And your whole career, really, but that's the most recent one. But I loved hearing you talk about your connection with the younger people in the cast. It was obvious that you were kind of a bit of a mentor and like an additional peripheral parent to some of these kids as they grew up, because Sheldon started at imaginary age 9 at the beginning of the series. And how old was he at the end? And talk about your emotional arc with these kids over that period of time.
Oh, thanks for that question, because I do love them. They were so tiny when we started, and we were all very thoughtful that we were responsible for these little beings having a very unique life. They're not in school. And so we were their village, and so we took it seriously to raise them as like a thoughtful village. And they're great kids. I'm hoping that they'll both take a little break now and for what's
Have a life. Yeah.
yeah, just a little bit of a regular life.
Let's talk about all 3 independently. You get there, the little ones are maybe 9 or 10, and then there's a 14-year-old boy. Tell me about their personalities, and then watching them grow up, how much like their characters or unlike their characters were they, and who have they become?
Well, let's see. We should start with Ian, I guess. He was so tiny when we started. 8, just 8, and
God,
was
he's charming. What a charming
so charming. And just to memorize things, he literally had only glanced at it, would say it once, blah 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 blah, and have it.
Even all of that scientific jargon.
All of that.
Gosh. Wow.
He has taught himself now, I think, 6 languages. Oh my! I think I've tried to figure out what sort of magic he's got, But I think a lot of it is he has such acute hearing stuff. I mean, it's the way he learns. He's taught himself to play Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. He came back at Christmas and he said, he lives in my neighborhood, so he dropped by and said, Miss Annie, can I play your piano? I was like, I'd love you to play my piano. And he sat down and absolutely ripped Gershwin off in perfect every note. It was like, I said, honey, how long have you been taking lessons? And he went, no, I haven't. I just taught it to myself. It's like,
oh, wow.
Well,
That's
I
scary.
was trying to watch as much as I could in preparation for your arrival, and I made it maybe 15 episodes into season 1. So I have like a nice adventure ahead of me because I'm really enjoying it. But he just sang and danced, trying out for the musical, and I thought, this kid really, he's one of those magical creatures that he's just, a lot of things come very naturally. He's been here many times before, and a lot of things come very naturally to him. And perhaps if he didn't have this life, he wouldn't feel challenged, and that you're offering him that.
well, I think his mother was thoughtful about that. I mean, she was homeschooling him from the beginning. She herself is a Shakespearean scholar, and so, instead of teaching him nursery rhymes, she taught him Shakespearean sonnets. She has little videos of him at 2, literally standing up in his crib going, "The shake the merry buds of May." It's like,
goodness.
And not easy because he had to play to a pre-existing character, the Jim Parsons character in Big Bang Theory. He was the younger version of that,
But he
right?
has those rhythms down too.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so much of it is rhythm and pattern and stuff. I've never quite seen anybody like him. I love him to pieces.
Now, are there any characters, any young people on there who probably will step out of show business now? They want to try something else, or are they all?
I don't think so. The older boy is. I thought when I first started working with him, it seemed to be a fluke, sort of, that he'd sent in his own audition and got the role, because he'd done one little thing. He's from a little town in Texas called Orville. And I'm sure, they don't have a lot of movies and stuff that going on down there. And he's a very unusual boy, too, but in a completely different way. He's just sweet. He doesn't watch TV. He doesn't watch movies. He likes woodworking. He has his own ranch that he's, and,
Wow.
And,
my God.
he, I think in the last couple of years, he changed his habit. But in the beginning, he didn't read the full script. He just read his part.
Oh, he's interesting. Okay. So they wanted people that had authentic Southern Texas accents, correct?
Well, he's the only one that they got that did. I mean, and his is real authentic.
Authentic Texas. Okay.
Yeah,
and what
he's-
about the little girl? Where is she from?
She was born in San Diego. Her dad was in the service, but both of her parents are Southern, so she could have done it. But I think that they didn't feel that he that he needed to that Georgie needed to lose his, and the little girl needed to have one.
I feel like she does.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lilt. Yeah.
Describe the character of Meemaw.
Oh, well, I grew up with a lot of people like her.
Yeah, Meemaw was part of your
my
life
house.
before this movie, right? Because that's like a character you developed a long time ago.
Well, it had been developed for me. I just know these women down south, and she's based quite a bit on my mother, and a lot on one of my sisters. It's really, I'm sorry that my mom isn't around anymore, because I think she would have enjoyed seeing herself up there quite a bit.
Swear it was her.
Yeah. But they gave me great stuff to do with her, and,
Speaking of great stuff, you work with Chuck Lorre, who's called the king of sitcoms because he's had so many successful Roseanne and all these other ones. And so there's a certain quality of writing in all of his work. How is that when you can just trust that you're getting the best that sitcoms have to offer working on your show?
They're really good, and they're really organized about it. We had two other guys, Steve Holland and Steve Malaro, who were the execs on our show too, and they're fantastic. And sort of like, and I would say all three of them were a bit like Ian in their very auditory. You know, it's all about rhythm. Chuck is a musician too, and he hears the rhythm of the joke, and he hears the rhythm of a scene, and you know, and the whole script. And I always think I'm not really a musician, but I think musically about it, so I kind of always understood the rhythms. Well, you're really funny, and you understand the rhythm of the joke. That's obvious. So there's where your music comes from. Yeah, there's a rhythm to funny, and there's different. The Southern rhythm to funny is different than like New York rhythm of funny.
Well, I have a question about the comparing Designing Women with Young Sheldon. You were on a hit series pre-internet, where more people were possibly watching, but you were privy to less of their conversation regarding your show. And now you're on a digital age show where you can experience more immediate feedback and awareness of how your show is being received. Talk about the difference as an actor.
Well, I think, you know, you get a series like that and you work for 9-10 months of the year and you live in a soundstage, really, and you kind of live in a bubble.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when we were doing Designing Women, there were not cell phones yet.
Fewer trolls, too.
Yes. I mean, the boogeyman then was National Enquirer. Mm-hmm. And they came after one of my castmates, and it almost broke her. She was one of the first people who really became a real. It was bad.
The thing about that for me was not that I ever picked it up and read it, but what we're learning through this trial is the National Enquirer is this thing that just sits there at the checkout stand, and so the headline screams something to you about Delta Burke. And then you go off and you don't know anything more about her other than why are they doing this to her?
Really, because your salami's already gone down the conveyor belt and you got to move on and just make stuff up.
But why was she targeted and why was she so interesting to people? And how does the National Enquirer, as your stalker, determine that you are vulnerable?
Well, I think kind of like Princess Diana, she was very beautiful and naturally vulnerable. And who knows what came first, the chicken or the egg, but she began to gain weight. And
oh my God, it smelled blood.
But I mean, so what? Like,
I know.
whatever.
I mean, I really think that today that kind of nonsense would be shot down. Mm-hmm. But we did have that then, and it was not good.
This was a groundbreaking show. Were you on the air before Golden Girls?
You know, I can't remember.
I can't either, but I tell you,
we ran simultaneously.
But
I think.
you had a cast of all women, which was fairly new.
Yes.
And you had, there was a star-study, Jean Smart and Delta Burke and Dixie and all those people. And it was, what an amazing cast of characters.
It was, and we had fantastic chemistry. I mean, the four of us together, it was, we were just like a perfect little chamber orchestra.
It's a great way to describe it.
I love that.
And I had no idea, and I want you to explain this to me. I was researching Designing Women, and I got to your backstory.
I had a backstory.
Yes. That's what I wanted to ask you. I found this so fascinating that your character, Shively, what was her last name?
Mary Jo Shively.
Mary Jo Shively. Somewhere online, there's a whole backstory about this woman, where she was born, who her early influences were. And I thought, when you go in there and you audition for a character and they give it to you, do you have to know these people or do you just go off the script?
No, I think that must have been put together in retrospect. There was somebody who, a lovely guy named Alan Crow, who kind of kept the Bible on that, and he might have all that information.
Okay, that may be where it came from.
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't. Years ago, I was in college doing a play, and we had been running for 3 weeks or so, and there was another actress in the play with me, and I was waiting for my entrance. She had gone ahead of me, but not before. She was standing in the wings, and she was scratching something on a tablet feverishly, and so then she put it down right before her entrance and went on, and I had another minute, so I slipped forward, and I picked her notebook up, and on it she had written, "Why am I in Wales?"
Oh, interesting.
The play took place in Wales. But we'd already rehearsed a month and had been running almost a month. It was like, honey, if you don't know why you're in Wales yet, it's too late. Anyway, I was never very interested in figuring out why I was in Wales. It was like I just accepted that I was.
Yeah, somebody put me there. David Mamet said, if it's not on the page, don't worry about it. You know, don't look too deeply. Just read the dialogue and react.
Sometimes you do need to know things. Like I was given a direction once by a director who had come out of editing. And she said, "So Annie, with the blah blah, and then you go out that door." And you're going to do that, and then you come back in. And I said, "Well, what am I doing out there?" And she said, "I don't care. You're off stage." I was like, "But I have to come back in, so I kind of have to know why I went out there. Or maybe I come back with something, a severed limb, anything. I don't know, a laundry basket." But anyway, I do like to know why I've gone off stage, but I don't really care why I'm in Wales. I'm probably having a good time.
So small picture things, but big picture, all right, we're in Wales, okay? So it's like, why are we on Earth? You could say, you could get too deep about like why anyone is anywhere, and it's not really what the play's about. But when it comes to Young Sheldon, that launched, well after the internet, so you were aware immediately of how it was being received, how people liked it, what people had to say about it. And so how is it still, do you try to keep yourself in a bubble and not expose yourself to all that, or is it interesting to you as one of the cast members?
It's sort of interesting to have a streaming view. I mean, I find that I go through and it's like, oh, that's about me. That's flattering. That's right. That's unflattering. Oh, they can't be right about that. I try not to put much on it. It can be useful, and I'm trying to harness some of that, mostly to use it to herd interest towards my. I have a charity in the.
And we're going to talk all about those things.
But it's useful because I think people want to help, and I think they would love ways to know how to help and feel that it's being done on an intimate level, like hand to hand kind of stuff. So I find it helpful in that way. Otherwise, really,
do the producers and the writers react to public response and say, wow, this character seems to really be resonating, so let's put them a little more in the forefront for...
I don't really know. Yeah. I don't know if they do. They used to, rate things. They'd get 100 people off the street and put them in a room, and they'd fill out things, focus groups, awful. Yes. But, I mean, to have a streaming focus group 24/7 where the needle's moving all the time because somebody said something, somebody went somewhere, and it's
your show addresses religion, at least the first season that I'm watching addresses religion, addresses Texas. And so when it gets into the age of Trump, how did it address that?
We didn't ever get that far.
Okay.
I think we just got up. It started in 1989. and they weren't counting the seasons as full years or something. So I'm not good at math. So anyway, we're still in the early 90s, so we hadn't gotten up to Trump yet.
So you only have to address the politics that existed in that time period that the show depicts.
Well, there's not religion is and we have the church, and I think they found interesting arguments and things to talk about there. But politics is I don't think Chuck really does politics. Mm-hmm. He has his little vanity card that he puts on the end of his show. I don't know if you know about them. There's where he expresses his own opinion about politics and things, but he leaves it out of his work as far as I can see. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has a viewpoint.
Right.
I think one of his best shows was his Comiskey Method because it was about old dudes.
Fabulous.
And I will never forget this. I don't want to get too far into the weeds because this Wheezy will literally retch if I do. But I had a surgical procedure, and this was
here we go.
This was kismet that, like, the week before I had the surgical procedure, they did an episode about that. Mm-hmm. And all I'll say about it is Danny DeVito was the urologist, and it was hysterical. Yeah. And I thought, he's doing this for my benefit because he just took all the stress out of his procedure.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That was really a well-written show.
He's a fantastic
And he
writer.
wrote all the episodes in that, I think.
I believe he did, and he directed some, too. Yeah. And he hadn't done that before.
Yeah. Wow.
So we do a little game on our show, and we have somebody with a lot of IMDb. You have 114 IMDb credits. So we do a little show called IMDb Roulette. And the rules
I'm going to be so bad at this.
No, you won't.
The rules of the game are that I say a credit, and then you tell us, if you can, who you played and what you remember about the experience. So I usually like to start by going way back to the beginning. So I'm going to say to you, Hollywood High.
First pilot that I did.
Was that a TV show?
I think it's a movie, and she plays two different characters as if it's like a high school production where they have her change wigs.
That's something else.
Okay, Hollywood High
was a pilot. It was my first pilot I did. I didn't even have an agent. I got an agent off that show, and it started my career.
So on IMDb it says that you play Paula and Phoebe. So
wow, two roles.
Maybe they were twins. I just don't know. Okay, let's move on. Hollywood High, good. So far, you're 1-0. Black Market Baby.
Yes.
Oh my.
Yeah, that was now. Linda Pearl, what a lovely girl. She was the star of it, and that's all I remember, that I met her, and I don't remember anything else about it.
Well, you play someone named Linda Cleary, and I will tell you that when I Googled Black Market Baby to learn more about it, it's also a band name.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. You're going to ace this one. Flatbed Annie and Sweetie Pie.
Oh, God, that's going to be like on my tombstone.
I'm sorry. You have a title role.
Yes, I know. They tried to teach me how to actually drive a truck, and my first attempt, I almost killed like 15 grips. It just shot backwards. It has like 100 gears on it. Anyway, nightmare.
You play Flatbed Annie. Okay, Pretty in Pink.
Yes, well, that was my that was after Ghostbusters, I think. I think it was.
Let me
Garrett,
ask
can you check
beautiful assistant
IMDb?
Paige a question. So the day that I saw Annie in a movie and I was so flabbergasted at how cute she was, I think you were having sex in the back of a camper with some guy, and I called her and
Oh yeah, that was Corvette Summer.
Oh,
with me
Corvette
and Mark Hamill.
Summer.
That was my first movie.
Yeah.
And Mark Hamill had 6 weeks before we started shooting, Star Wars had just come out, and he was the biggest. He was the biggest heartthrob in the world, and also the sweetest guy. He was just fabulous.
He's very vocal politically now.
He's the current heartthrob of Twitter
is.
and saving the world.
I know it.
God bless him.
Yeah, so that was on my list. Yeah, Corvette Summer. You play Vanessa, and what happened?
I was supposed to remember the name of the characters. Yeah.
How old were you? Honest to God, you look
24.
You look 15 in that movie. So cute.
And then, of course, we have Toy Story.
Yeah.
Which there's been 4 or 5 of, correct?
Yes, I play Bo Peep in that. I know my name in that.
And how did they write Bo Peep? What's her personality?
Well, you see, I have to do the voice for her. Bo Peep she's a kind of a seductress, shepherdess kind of girl, and she's in love with Woody,
It's such a prototype.
Sort
Seductive.
Well, yeah, isn't it? I mean, I'm a lamp, okay?
Yes. You're a lamp. Oh, well then, you have that light. You always have that light. So I think you've done pretty well. But yeah, 114 IMDb credits.
Wow.
And do you ever look at your own IMDb to make sure it's accurate or up to date or
No.
So is someone else inputting it for all the big name actors?
I have no idea who does it. It's like, the fairies come at night, and I don't know who types all that stuff in. I don't even want to get into a texting with somebody, because it's just too much thumbs. But yeah, I don't know who does that, and I'm not going to check their work because I don't. It's done. I can't change it.
I think the internet has its own groupthink when it comes to IMDb and Wikipedia, where you have to just trust that someone's going to correct someone who typed something that was inaccurate.
Well, it's like whoever has got the algorithm going for me on like Facebook and that kind of thing, this is what they think I like. They think I like alligators, sharks, and twins in the NICU.
What?
Because
What?
Well, how accurate is any of that?
Well, I don't know, but I fall down that rabbit hole. If they send them to me, I'm going to look at all the multiple births
Oh, I
in
see.
the NICU
So that's what
and see how
TikTok
they're doing.
TikTok is sending you NICU babies and alligators.
And crocodiles and sharks in the water, which
So are they pretty much on the nose there? They've got your attention?
Well, I do scuba dive, so okay. I do get in the water, but I've always got my eyes peeled for a dorsal fin.
Let's talk about Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire. You went to England to shoot that. Mm-hmm. How was it to join your previous cast members, Bill and Dan? And was there a magic involved in that or no?
Yeah, there is. I mean, how many other projects are there that have been going on for 40 years
Exactly.
and the people come back and play the same role?
Yeah.
And I don't even have words for it. It's like, that is kind of crazy.
No, it is unbelievable.
And we were kids when we started out. We were just, Bill hadn't even started on SNL yet.
Oh, my
Oh,
goodness.
really?
No, he had the day we started shooting, or for him anyway, he'd just come back from India because he was doing Razor's Edge. And I think that he was headed to do it in the fall. I believe we shot that in the summer. But
yeah, he replaced Chevy Chase after season 1. Yeah.
but
You told me a story after you had just gotten over there. I think you were talking to Paige on the phone, where you had struck up a pretty good relationship with the director. He decided to expand your role in the movie.
yeah. We'd been shooting a few weeks actually, and he came to me and he said, we're going to put you in the flight suit. We're going to. So 40 years, it's biblical. 40 years I waited and I got the flight suit. I have to say it. It looks really good on the boys. Not all that flattering on a girl. But I was super stoked to put that flight suit on.
Yeah, because you get promoted
to
to busting ghost.
Yeah.
And what does that entail? Like, what is it that makes them? It's kind of like killing zombies, right? Like, when are they actually really dead?
Yes. There's a lot of lasers involved, and but that. And people yelling at you and going, he's coming, he's getting closer, he's moving to the left, he's moving to the right. And
is it working with green screen when you do that?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, some of it was. With the big monster at the end, no, it was like some cardboard horns on a very tall stick that a very tall guy carried. It's like, you're kidding.
Oh, my God.
But so it is... It's an invitation to explore your child's your child imagination. It's like, yeah, the bad man's coming.
How much of that was improvised? Do you play with Bill and Dan and those guys? Or
that's their stock and trade.
Yeah.
So Danny and Bill, would rewrite on the spot and start improvising and stuff. Ernie and I were like, just tell me what you want me to say. I'll say it. I like somebody to just give me words. It's not that
You're an actor. Yeah. So that's fun, and it's also franchised like Toy Story, where there's probably still going to be another one. And I think there's these legacy projects that people want to bring their kids and grandkids to, where they know the title. They know, I know what we're going to see,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like almost like a series, but in movie form.
Right. Yes, it's a big box store. You can get whatever you want in there, and the whole family can go.
Now, is there anything in your career that you did that you wish had turned into something more substantial or more with more of a, I guess, longevity to it?
Well, I did a show called Any Day Now, and beautiful, beautiful show about the friendship between two women, one black, one white. And we went back and forth to their lives as little girls in Birmingham, and then present day, also in Birmingham, and how we changed. It was about race. And it was beautifully written and executed. And we did 4 years. We were one of the first shows on cable. I would have wished that could go on. And then, when Obama came in, I with my representatives went back to the network or the cable, whatever it was, and said, wouldn't it be great to revisit these characters and see where they are now? And there was an interest. But there was certainly plenty of conversation at that time about, we don't know how to talk about race. We were doing it with that piece, and I think it would have been wonderful to reopen the books on that.
And who was your co-star?
Lorraine Toussaint, who's brilliant actress. She's in the thing with Queen Latifah now. I forget the name of it.
Sometimes
there's a lot of ass kicking going on in that.
A lot of ass kicking, yeah. But hey, the girl's doing it.
I'm telling you.
Yes, that's
there we
right.
go.
Right.
There we go.
Right.
So I'm going to go back to Designing Women, because it was written and produced by Linda Bloodworth Thomason, who was also an advisor to Bill Clinton. Was she doing all that relationship with Clinton while the show was going on?
Absolutely.
Wow.
She was writing a lot. They wrote and shot The Man from Hope, and Jim, my husband, was a cameraman on that, and spent a week or more down in Arkansas with them, shooting them.
Your husband is not only one of the coolest people and just a lovely man, but we have to mention Jimmy, her husband, who is a cinematographer and a director and a producer, worked on NCIS New Orleans, NCIS Hawaii, did several episodes of The Sopranos, which is unbelievable. I didn't know that.
He got into doing, heavier drama action stuff, but really he's a light comedian guy. He did Ugly Betty.
Which was a great show.
Yeah.
Did you meet him at work?
I did. We were doing a little indie film.
So when did you first start to have feelings?
Well, we became friends first. We were, work talk.
He's also a great photographer, and I have 2 of his black and white items in my home right now. He's really a talented a photographer.
But yes, the Bloodworth Thomasons were besties with the Clintons at that time.
And they wrote his speeches, or they were his political advisors?
Well,
who knows what they were doing?
yes, they were in it, and I suspect that she shaped some of his speeches and probably gave some punch up to it too.
Yeah.
I mean, she's hilarious.
But I mean, their name was bandied about in that whole Whitewater thing, and they all got caught in that quagmire, whatever that was. Yeah.
They were just looking for whatever, and they kept like looking. Mm-hmm. What is it, like pigs looking for truffles, or I don't know what a truffle is, but like they just kept looking until they found something scandalous.
Pretty in Pink, you played Iona, and Molly Ringwald was in that, and it was so cool to see her in Duel, Capote versus the Swans.
I have not watched that yet.
I'll tell you, on the surface you would say, is this going to be just some dish thing? No, it's beautifully written, and the women who act in that thing, there's an all-star cast of women in that thing.
But it's kind of like watching The Housewives, and you're just like, oh
no,
my
it's
God,
not.
you
It's
people are
smarter
ridiculous.
Not one housewife is as smart as any one of the people.
Well, I was good friends with Joanne Carson.
Oh, wow.
What's she like?
She was a gas.
Mm-hmm.
And she had a lot of tales to tell. Truman Capote died in her house. Mm-hmm. And I think she was the one who, one of the swans who said, I love you and stay with me. But yeah, she was fantastic. I met her.
It's a beautifully written miniseries. And Tom Hollander, the guy that plays Capote, is British. And you can't believe it when you hear this guy doing Capote, who's a very specific kind of a character. He's fantastic.
Well, I think more and more actors are from everywhere are being invited their places. Mm-hmm. We just loved Masters of the Air.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
And we just saw the same guy who was playing one of the great heroes as John Wilkes Booth in the
that was
Manhunt.
Another good series. Did we talk about that on this thing?
I did Manhunt. I'm obsessed with Manhunt.
Oh,
I think
my
it's
God, it was
the
so
best
good.
thing for years. Have you
Really?
seen that one yet?
Yes, I have.
So good.
Extraordinary.
We started watching because we just love that actor. Now he's Irish.
So that's
Isn't
the
that
thing.
funny?
Like, it's not like they're calling over to America to send them people that can do British and Irish accents.
No,
it's like our best American actors are British and Australian. I never expect anyone anymore to have an American accent in real life. There's just so many people that are coming from other countries who are out, who are just extraordinary.
And the guy that played in White Lotus, one of the principal characters in the last season of White Lotus, that played in that sordid relationship, turns out he's a Brit, because I watched that new series called Gentleman on, it's Madonna's old husband. What's his name?
Sean
Guy
Penn?
Ritchie.
Yeah. And the guy's a Brit, and I thought the whole time on White Lotus, nobody ever could have convinced me he was British.
Well,
what's with these dudes, man?
We're trained to do this, even American actors.
Can you do a lot of accents?
Uh-huh.
Like what?
Well, I can certainly do a Southern one.
Yes, you can. Like what are some of your best accent movies or series?
Ghostbusters is a totally different one, That's the northern thing. Mm-hmm. And when I first came out here, I spent 3 years doing nothing but Shakespeare.
Oh, wow.
And I remember as I started film work, it was like, gosh, I hope I sound like an American.
Really?
But of course, I spent most of my life with my Southern accent employed.
And you're from Missouri, correct?
No, I went to school in Missouri.
Okay.
I'm from Kentucky. It's neighbor.
So
The best time you'll have is having her tell stories about her family. You were born in Nashville, raised in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Interesting family, colorful family.
Colorful. Well, that's our stock and trade down there.
Yeah.
Storytellers, writers. Absolutely. When none of us wrote anything down, we remembered it all. But tall tales and good jokes. If you couldn't tell a joke to company, then that dinner the next night, we're going to have to go over that until we polished that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was like, it would have been funnier if you'd put this first and then not added that piece. Yeah.
Wow.
Very
That's fascinating. So it's not just your family, it's every family on the block or
I don't
every
know. It was sure ours. There was no block where I live. I grew up on a farm. we were it.
Okay.
All right. So one of the loveliest things about you is your devotion to other people's lives and the charity work that you do. And there are three that come to mind, and I'm sure there are dozens. First of all, the White Pony Express, which feeds and clothes needy people up in the Bay Area. Talk about that one.
Yeah, well, a friend of mine started that, and first it was just because there were people starving, and she started a whole thing of, people throwing, markets throwing stuff out, at its sell-by, and everything is good for like a week or two past the sell-by.
That's an interesting point. People need to remember that because it's terrifying when you see that stamp and you've
Right.
already eaten the yogurt and now you're afraid you're going to die.
So, it's anyway that now they're serving 90,000 meals a day from
man, that's
rescue. I mean,
fantastic.
it went from somebody with a station wagon, and now they have like 5 huge trucks, and they pick up from everywhere. I mean, the best of the best, and so you're taking where there is abundance and giving it out to those who need.
It's take a penny, leave a penny on a very grand scale.
Yes, that's right.
During the pandemic, I was really proud of Paige and you because you had this cool thing that you did. And it was for All Are One. I think it was a charity that benefited from that, where you made the masks. And these beautifully fashioned masks. And in your living room, you had sewing machines set up, and Paige would be in there with bleeding fingers at all hours of the day, sewing these masks.
Well, remember in the beginning, there weren't any masks. They were going to doctors. So
The other
But they
thing
were
is, in the
beautiful.
beginning, there were no vaccines. So we spent like a year and a half, like everybody in terror. Well,
Yes,
you had there were, and Trump was confiscating all of the, supplies and of the whatever it was called, the protective gear. So no one had anything, and everyone was afraid to.
But yours were
well,
beautiful.
I had a sewing machine.
You had a sewing
Luckily, I
machine.
learned to sew in the theater department.
Right, no one could get a hold of masks; they were scarce. Remember? and when
Nancy
you walked by
Pelosi
someone on the
ended
street,
up wearing one of
Yes,
your very fashionable
wait,
masks.
go back. Okay, start at the beginning. I want to hear that story.
My friend Paige here knew some people who knew women in politics, and because at that time everyone was saying, "Don't wear a mask," that's nonsense. Some of the people in that administration, and so I thought if I could get some beautiful masks to our beautiful women politicians, then that they would wear them. Then it would be like, no, this is a good thing. And anyway, yes, I did spot Nancy Pelosi with one of mine, and it made me very happy.
Okay, and what was it?
It was a beautiful, like blue and silver one, I think.
Where did you get the fabrics? The fabrics were unbelievable.
Friends just sent me fabrics once they saw what I was up to. We made over 1,000 masks.
I was going to ask you that. You guys worked hard at that every day. It was
Well, first it was just like, oh my God, if we're going to do anything, if we're going to go out, we're going to have to have masks. So I made them for my family and all my friends, and then a girlfriend of mine went, my brother works in a nursing home in San Bernardino, and the nurses are getting sick. It was like, how many do you need? I got my housekeeper a sewing machine. I got Paige one.
You had like a sweatshop going in there in your living room.
Triage.
It was fantastic.
That's amazing. So do you think Nancy knew that her mask came from you?
Well, I sent her a little note. But
Paige says yes.
Sometimes you have to. I put in a note, wear it in good health, love what you do. But I didn't get any card back from her, and I didn't really expect one. No,
I know she listens to our
she
podcast.
was busy.
So Nancy, maybe a cookie basket. Come on.
You wrote a children's book called Camaraderie of Anguilla.
Camaraderie.
Camaraderie of Anguilla.
Yes, this is what got me started on my, can't we all just do something to help other people? The island that we've been going to for a long time, since our kids were little, I went was on our regular beach, and I was about to go down and have my swim, and a local boy, came up to me and pointed at my goggles. He was very interested in them and wanted them, and I gave them to him, and then he took my hand, pulled me in with him. He wanted to play with me. Aww. So we played there for a while, and it didn't take long to realize that he didn't have any language. And
no language?
No, he had utterances, but no language. And he was 8 then.
Okay.
So his mother came in, and I said, what's going on with your little boy? And she said, I don't know. I've never been able to get him diagnosed. It was like, can you imagine 8 years and your child has no language? And so I looked around, and I thought, what was available to him there? Not much. One fantastic woman who had started a little center called the Blossom Center. There was 5 kids in there, but nothing in particular for him. Anyway, his mom needed help, and so I wrote this children's book and illustrated it to be sold there on the island to help the little Blossom Center for special needs kids, so that there would be an ongoing thing, because there wasn't quite anything like that on the island. And anyway, eventually, the island is Anguilla, and it's a British protectorate. And the mom wanted to get him to England, which she had the right to do. And so, with some help and some contributions, we got the whole family over there, and he got help. He's been in a special needs school, and he has more language, and he's learning to. He's been working in a barber shop.
Can you tell us his name?
His name is Camaraderie Brooks, and he's 18 now.
Wow.
But the mother and his sister the mother had never been off the island, and I was so worried about her wanting to go there, because I had friends in England who were like, listen, we are just swamped over here. Tell her not to come. There is not enough help to go around. But she was determined to do it, and she got there, and England opened its arms to them and got them a place to live, him in special schools for his sister, and who is now graduating and going to college and wants to be a doctor, and the mother's in school and getting her degree so that she can be an aide. And anyway, it's just a big happy success story.
Absolutely.
And it took really so little to help them, and it certainly made my heart full, and it made me want to help other people. So I, with my best friend, I put together a kind of another idea, and it's called the Heart Channels, and we help mostly, just as it turns out, mostly single mothers who are, people get stuck in a crisis. It's like because rents are going up and they have to leave, but they don't have first and last, so they end up sleeping in their car with 4 kids under the overpass or something, and it spirals down into worsening, unhomed people. Mm-hmm. So sometimes if you can just step in, it's like, oh, you just need first and last? Let us help you with that. And it just, that is really doable. So we do that, and
we're going to put the links to this stuff in our show notes, and so people that are moved by what you're saying will have access to these various things. But I've never met anybody that does as much for other people as you do. Unbelievable. It's really.
And is that how you two know each other, through charity?
No, we're in the same zip code.
Well, okay. Maybe you do it all the time, Fritz.
Well,
Come
I do.
on. You spend most of your time
my first
doing
connection
that.
to her with charity was, I think it was White Pony Express. When I was doing weather at home during the pandemic, we did a plug for it on the.
Well, I made some masks that we were selling that, like I made them, I signed them and everything as if they were, artwork. But it was like, but okay, you get a mask for $350 and, 6 families get to eat this week.
Mm-hmm.
So we made a lot of money doing those. And Fritz was in his last days as the weatherman. He's out there plugging like nobody's business there. Look at this man. Look at this. Look at this
I know,
one.
that's all.
Nobody heard the weather that night.
I don't care. They knew what the weather is before I even opened my mouth. That's the thing about California.
The mask protects you from the rain anyways. Well, that's so wonderful. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about or mention before we do our closing credits?
Oh, never.
Are you going to do a one-person show? Don't you have a one-person show?
Yes. I don't have it. It's been brought to me, and I love it.
Oh.
And I'm just we're trying to figure it out right now. It's in its early stages, but it's another piece about race and a Southern girl. It takes place during the pandemic. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm these things are very hard to get off the ground, but I'm really hoping that we can do it.
So you have filmed the last episode of Young Sheldon, and so we do have to ask you about that experience because I imagine that was heartbreaking. It
was the last few episodes were hard. First of all, because they were our last together, and we loved each other very muchly, and the material becomes difficult because as the history that we know from Big Bang, the father dies, and that's what the subject matter of the last. We have one this Thursday. It's an hour long, so it's 2 episodes together, and then the following week 2 more. But they're beautifully written and. I hope executed.
It's going to live on forever in syndication and streaming and all that stuff, right?
Yeah,
it was a successful show.
We're on TikTok now. The kids have got a hold of us.
Okay, well, there you go.
We were shooting in we were parked in a parking lot of a middle school a few weeks ago. And the kids went wild. I mean, it was like we were the Beatles or something. I mean, they were climbing the fence.
Is that where your son goes to school?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Came home and told me all about
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember you saying that, yeah.
So what happened?
So, I mean, they were at recess, and if we came out of the trailers, it caused so much of a problem. They asked us not to make contact with the kids because it was causing a traffic jam up and down Moore Park.
Oh my goodness!
But the kids have got a hold of it in full force now.
So when you say you're on TikTok, does that mean that that your show is on TikTok in pieces, or that people are just posting content about your show?
I don't really understand these things. Yeah. I'm just told that the kids watch it on TikTok.
Right, because you're watching the alligators, so you're distracted.
I'm trying to save the babies in the NICU and the poodles from being eaten by the crocodiles. But I'm told that the kids watch it on TikTok.
I think it would make an interesting podcast to just say, to have a panel and just say, what does TikTok know about you? And go around the room and have whatever TikTok is showing you, because it's an interesting reveal of your personality, right?
Or one of your passions. I think it's kind of the Candy Crush of streaming things.
I'm getting a lot of show tunes, it turns out.
Yeah.
Has there been any talk of spinning Sheldon off with you or
yes, there is
characters?
Going to be a spin-off. They're spinning off Georgie and his new bride, Mandy. And my dear friend Rachel Bay Jones plays Mandy's mother, and a wonderful Canadian actor named Will Sasso. So yes, and it's going to be a live audience thing. It'll be different in feeling and everything.
So will Meemaw stop by at all, or you're not sure?
I don't know. She might drop in every once in a while.
I mean, I guess that's something they can do to not conflict with Big Bang or with story arcs that already exist with Big Bang, where we know what happens to Sheldon. They can have Georgie have his own kind of universe.
Yeah. Yes, and he's so darling, because even though he didn't read the scripts in total, but he is the most authentic, sweetest boy. Oh. I just adore him, and he's beautiful and he's totally natural. I mean, it's it's all honest what he is, and it's so pure. It's unusual.
I think it's a really brilliant piece of casting, just watching the first season as I am right now, because those children, each one of them, are extraordinary performers. Just excellent. They each took to their roles, and they bring something unique to child acting. You know, it's quite brilliant. And, you know, and you got to watch them grow up. So, and that's a joy.
You maintain your friendships with them? Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
And also, I love the way they wrote your relationship with your daughter and with her husband. None of it is perfect. It's all complicated.
Yes. Mary doesn't like me at all. And I don't like George at all, kind of.
But, you know, I'm sure as I continue watching, there's much to unravel, correct?
Oh, yeah. It's all good.
Yeah.
It's a delightful show.
Well, thank you for bringing us that show. It's...
listen, I just got the pleasure of performing it.
Well, you did it beautifully, and we're grateful. So here come our closing credits. Thank you for coming along down the media path. We would love to continue this conversation with you on Instagram and Twitter. We are at Media Path Pod. And on Facebook, where our show page is Media Path Podcast, and our Facebook group is Media Path with Fritz and Wheezy Podcast Community. And we are a video podcast on YouTube. You get to watch us and laugh at our outfits, and then hopefully you will subscribe. Our YouTubes are full of additional visual treats that will surprise and delight you. Find us at Media Path Podcast on YouTube. Write to us at mediapathpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us what you've been watching, reading, and loving. If you enjoy our show, please give us a nice rating wherever you get your podcasts, and share our social media posts so that your friends can learn about your excellent taste in podcasts. Our website is mediapathpodcast.com. Here you can find interesting episodes you may have missed. We also have a fun and sassy newsletter loaded with bonus content about our guests. All of the newsletters are right there for you to enjoy on our website. And you can sign up to get your newsletter sent directly into your inbox. Just one per week. We do understand healthy boundaries. We want to thank our wonderful guest, Annie Potts. Our team includes producer Dina Friedman, John Maddox, Bill Filipiak, Mason Brown, Garrett Arch, Jordan Reyes, and you. Our theme music is by me and John Maddox. I'm Louise Palanker, here with Fritz Coleman and Annie Potts. Be well and wise, and we will see you along the media path.